Alright guys, I just wanted to give you a quick rundown of what you can expect to find inside the box here. You got your bag and all the other additional hardware, mounting hardware, the power wires, some stakes, and of course the instructions right here. Now I've got some tools here laid out that I'm going to be using. Of course you can use whatever you feel comfortable with. And then here's a quick shot of the awning. Of course I haven't put it up yet, but I just pulled everything out of the box. When you do get this, you do want to make sure that everything's in good shape. Sometimes these things get damaged in shipping. This box actually came in pretty good shape. I've gotten a couple of these where they did not make it in good shape at all. So you definitely want to check that out, pull everything out, make sure that it's okay. And on to the next step, we're going to actually look at the instructions here. So alright guys, so what I've done here is I went ahead and separated all the hardware, looked over the instructions, and it looks like the instructions may have been updated or changed, because it looks like some of the hardware is different than what they mentioned. At one point this may have been multiple pieces, but it looks like the brackets have been updated to a single piece, which I've actually used the other version and they work fine, but this is much simpler. So if you do get this version, then you'll be much happier in the long run. Looks like we've got some bolts there that are going to be in the channels. That's how you'll actually mount the awning. The rest of these will go into the bracket and then into any kind of a rack system that you might have. Alright guys, I just want to give you a quick shot here. So I'm actually using a Gamma VD rack. Your rack may look and install differently, but just as a frame of reference, this is a Gamma VD rack. I've got three mounting towers on the side here that I'm going to utilize. Two of them with the included brackets, but your mounting may differ a little bit. As I mentioned, this is a Gamma VD rack. Alright guys, so just as a quick heads up here, I'm using 15mm here, and I've grabbed 4 of these stainless steel washers, and of course I only grabbed 2 of the nuts, but I'll have to grab some of those, but should be pretty self-explanatory. As I mentioned, I've got a Gamma VD rack here. Your mounting may differ a little bit, but it's pretty straightforward on this here. So you can mount it depending on how you want to, either on the top of the rack or on the bottom. If you're mounting it underneath your rack, you may need some spacers, depending on if you've got a tent or not on the top. But again, you can mount it either way. So on this back rack, so I mentioned before that I'm actually using a Gamma VD rack here, and since I don't have a cross member here, I'm going to actually take about 5 of these washers and use them as a spacer so that it'll make it nice and level on the top here. Again, depending on what rack you guys are using, you may have to do similar modifications, but as I mentioned, I'm just using these as a spacer so that it mounts level. And again, I just like using these pliers. It's easier for me to hold the nut in place. You guys may find something else that works better for you, but for me, I prefer using these. Alright guys, so as I mentioned, I'm using a Gamma VD rack here, and on the back of this mounting tower here, I don't have a cross member here. So what I did is I took 5 of these washers and I basically made a riser. And the reason for that is that it'll help keep this more level. Again, depending on what rack you guys are using, you may need to do a similar thing. Different racks obviously do mount differently, but because I'm lacking this cross member here, I have to basically raise up the mounting bracket here. Now you don't want to tighten it too tight because you do want to be able to adjust it. Alright guys, I just wanted to give you a quick shot here. So there's basically a channel for the shorter nuts and bolts, actually I should say the bolts here, and they just slide in pretty easily, and that's how it mounts to the top. And I'm going to put this gasket back on it here in just a second. Alright guys, this thing just pokes right in here. It's really easy to take in and out. It just finishes everything out and makes it look nice there. There you go. As you can tell here, it's always nice to have a buddy nearby. All right. Yeah, so just in case you're wondering, yes, it's raining, and yes, we're dry. So it does offer pretty darn good rain protection too. One of the coolest features of this awning right here is the fact that it actually has integrated LED lights. I've just got these wired up to a good old-fashioned USB power bank down there. You see that here, and yeah, and I love the color. It doesn't actually come through perfectly, but it is actually more of an amber, which I feel like will be much better for bugs. But what a great feature that's integrated into this system. So clearly, depending on the height that you want, it might look a little better than this right now, but I gotta tell you, as far as the awning goes, super nice quality. Pretty easy to set up. There's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's a great size. I think honestly, if I had to change anything, it would be the brackets, so that maybe you could get a little more height out of it. The lights are really nice. Again, I'm just running it out of a old-fashioned USB power bank there. But I've got a couple of these awnings, and the older brackets offered a little bit more height adjustability, but all in all, just a solid awning for the money. And those lights, oh, what a nice touch.